Good morning, everyone. Imagine this: a rat in a lab cage discovers a lever. Every time it presses the lever, its brain is stimulated in a way that it feels more rewarding than food, more rewarding than water, even more rewarding than life itself. It presses the lever thousands of times until it collapses with exhaustion. This is not a science fiction. It was in 1954 experiment conducted by John Old and Peter Milner who discovered the central reward system of the brain. That movement shaped neuroscience, and decades later, it gives us a better understanding about addiction. This is Dr. Manish Shukla. I am a neuroscience coach, clinical psychologist, and addiction expert. Today, I am going to take you on a journey of a brain where we'll see how addiction gets holds and, very importantly, how recovery is possible and important. It all starts with the neuronal effects. At the foundation of every thought, craving, and choices are neurons, are specialized brain cells. Each neurons communicate through electric impulses which are generated by the movement of ions, which is sodium, potassium, calcium, and chloride. Think of it like wiring of a house. If ions are the electric current, then neurotransmitters are the light switches which decide which what to get illuminated. But addictive substance like opioids, alcohol, and cocaine, it exploits the system. Cocaine blocks the dopamine reuptake, keeping the pleasure signal stuck in on position. Alcohol amplifies GABA chlorine channels, calming the brain but silencing the memory formation. Opioids mute the brain, but it reinforces euphoria. So addiction begins with tiny molecular betrayals, a small change in ions and receptors level that cascades into a massive eruption in behaviors. The neurotransmitters, it is the most hijacked orchestra. Our brain has 86 billions of neurons and over 100 neurotransmitters. But addiction repeatedly disturbs these few key players. Dopamine, the currency of motivation. It releases in nucleus accumbens, but drug it floods the system with dopamine and trick our brain to think that survival depends on substance. Glutamate, it is the teacher of our brain. It strengthens the pathway of drug seeking, making relapse a learned reflex. GABA, it is the brake pedal of the brain. During withdrawal, GABA gets weakens, leaving overdrive in seizure, anxiety, and restlessness. Serotonin, it is the mood stabilizer. Its depletion shows the depression in recovery. Endorphins, the natural opioids. It is muted when heroin or fentanyl takes over the receptors. And cortisol, it is the stress hormone. Elevated level increases the risk of relapse in recovery. So the conclusion, addiction is more about losing control rather than seeking pleasure. There are three circuits that defines the struggle of addiction. The reward pathway, ventral tegmental area, nucleus accumbens, and the prefrontal cortex. This is the superhighway of dopamine. It reinforces drug taking as if were essential for survival. The prefrontal cortex, it is the CEO of our brain, seat of judgment and impulse control. In addiction, its power is diminished. The CEO can no longer control the company. The stress circuit, amygdala, heightened during withdrawals, it has no control. And stress, and relapse are deeply intertwined. This can be more explained with the experiment done by George Coop in 1990. He demonstrated a rat with impaired prefrontal cortices. They self-administered with cocaine compulsively. They were unable to stop even they have faced with punishment. This shows addiction is very, very drastic and it can lead to disaster. Now I'll be sharing some of the landmark experiments which makes our understanding much more clear for addiction. 1954 experiment conducted by Old and Milner where they discovered reward center of the brain which concludes addiction is wired into survival circuits of brain. The famous experiment by Bruce Alexander in 1970 where he demonstrated isolated rat in cage self-administered morphine compulsively. But when they were enriched with environment of social connection, toys and tunnels, they largely ignored the drugs. The lesson, environment and connections are as much as essential just as brain chemistry. Nora Volkow in 2000 demonstrated to the PET scan of addicted humans which shows fewer dopamine receptors. It concludes addiction is physically remodeled in brain. All this experiment proves that addiction is biological and contextual. But the most hopeful truth is our brain can rewire itself with the power of neuroplasticity. Mindfulness and CBT strengthens the prefrontal cortex, giving back the impulse control. Exercise gives us the increasability of dopamine receptors, undoing drug deficit behaviors. Social connections strengthens oxytocin and serotonin pathways, reducing the need of artificial high. Neuroplasticity is just not a theory. It is visible in brain scans. Circuit weakens by drug use can be rebuilt by new habits, repetition therapy, and community. Addiction is best treated when humanity and science meets together. Medication rebalances the chemistry, therapy reshapes thinking, community restores connection, purpose and meaning gives brain a healthier reward system. In other words, medicine calms the storm, therapy redraws the map, community builds the bridge, and purpose and meaning draws the light. So today what we have learned, addiction starts with ions and neurotransmitters. It evolves around the circuitry battle of craving and control. It is reinforced by environment and stress, but it can be reversed with the magic of neuroplasticity. Addiction is not a moral weakness. It is a brain disorder with a path to recovery. And today, I want you to remember this line. The opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. Thank you.